Taking care of that roll call. I would entertain a motion for approval of the agenda.
Sure. I moved to approve.
No objection, the agenda is approved. I don't see anyone online from the public. Is there anyone out there hiding from us? Who was that? Seeing and hearing no one from the public, past public participation, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of September 6th.
I'm sure I reviewed the minutes and I approved them.
Thank you. Okay. Welcome to Joe as our liaison, at least for now. And welcome to Nate as part of CBJ's Engineering and Public Works and Ms. Wren. Let's get rolling with the emergency department renovation update.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With the ED renovation, we had the opportunity to meet twice during the month of October with the Department of Health. Once the big meeting. These meetings had multiple agenda items, with the CON being one of those items. In the first meeting, they asked multiple questions about the intent or what we were doing with the certificate of need and the remodel of the emergency. At the second meeting, they didn't ask questions. We asked questions as to the status of the CON. They said the CON process as a whole was going through a kind of a remodel at the state level. And then after the meeting had stopped, we received word from them that basically the CON probably would move forward for the next 3 months, at the very least. It's being held at the state level for now.
My bias was that CON is becoming less applied around the state. Am I mistaken? And maybe perhaps
I'm not sure it's being more applied in our situation from the various programmatic changes we've made over the last 6 months. That's my take. Yes.
So this is sorry to answer, but are we in trouble then? Is that the way you interpret this on?
I guess that's one way to interpret it. In each of these meetings, they also bring up questions. They ask what we're going to do with the health, what we're going to do with the lower building. I mean, it's the conversation gets brought up every single time. I don't know if we're being penalized for decisions we made. I mean, these two projects are completely separate, but it feels that way to me.
And you've told us many times before, but who are actually the players that?
It was DC Ritchie in this last meeting. She's the one that let us know that the CON would not move forward for the next 3 months.
She's the
Deputy Commissioner.
yeah, but she's the main person that's talking.
Madam Chair. So I have a question. So we need a certificate of need we're doing a remodel, right?
Renovation, I think we call it, yes.
Yeah, so you need a certificate of need for that?
My understanding, any project that has a value of over $1.5 million, they might be able to come up with more use. It's the nature of the project and the dollar value associated.
And we are expanding the footprint a little bit.
I think it's roughly 1,200 square feet.
Okay. Mr. Romsey, do you have anything that will add to this, the knowledge of the certificate of need process and where we're at and why we need it?
I think the points both of you just mentioned, we are adding capacity technically. There will be an increase of, I believe, 2 overall rooms. Because of that, the expanded footprint, and then as Joe had mentioned, the cost of the project we were informed that we would need to go through the certificate of need process, which was actually started several years ago when the original renovation project was identified.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? So I have a question. How did you have another question?
No, thank you.
So, as you said, it's going to be at least 3 months. You thought, or they shared with you. What does that do for the project timeline for us? And I'm not sure who to direct that to. Joe, Jean, Nate.
Jean might be the best one to answer that question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, until we receive the certificate of need, the state does not allow us to spend more than 1.5 million on the project. And also tied to this is the Assembly has not approved the $8.9 million appropriation that was on the agenda on October 21st. They have referred that back to the Assembly Finance Committee. It will go before the Finance Committee on November 6th. If it is moved forward from the Finance Committee, it could go to the Assembly on their November 18th meeting. But I understood a comment by one of the Assembly members was, what's the rush? There's no certificate of need, so we can't spend more than 1.5 million anyway. But it seems like the state is saying, well, you don't have the funding. So anyway, it does delay the project. We have the CMAR selection process on hold because we don't want to get in the same situation we were with the major renovation where we had to cancel the project got canceled after we awarded the contract to the CMAR. So we don't want to repeat that. So it just delays that process. So in the best case scenario, if the Assembly were to approve the appropriation on November 18th, we would be looking at starting construction in late August, September of 2025. So another 3 months is just going to keep, most likely we'll be looking at spring of 2026 for construction.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any more questions, comments about the ED renovation?
Just a comment, just a note that there's some very great variability between our healthcare system doing a remodel and someone like Search doing a remodel. I mean, the differences are really amazing. That's just a comment.
Madam Chair. Yeah. So can we go to anybody higher and talk to them about it?
I can't answer that question. I don't know. She's the commissioner.
She's a commissioner. You could probably talk to her. I would assume she would refer it back to DC Eugene.
Yeah, when you make comments, can you speak that?
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
All right. Project updates. Ms. Brin.
Thank you. Let's see. The CT scanner MRI project is essentially closed out, but we do have some floor warranty work occurring at the end of November, which is going to require the MRI be down for 4 days because of the magnet in the MRI. It's kind of interesting. It has to be shut down. Otherwise, the contractor can't bring any tools in, not even a cart with metal wheels if the magnet is activated, because it will just suck every metal object towards the MRI. So the MRI will be down for 4 days at the end of November so that the repair work can be done to the floor. So The bids for the abatement of the vinyl tile at the ground floor came in good. They came in under the estimate. So we've just issued the notice to proceed. So that work on site will likely be gearing up around the first of the year. They're doing the submittals right now. Bartlett Surge Protection Phase 2, that project will be ready to go out to bid soon. We have some final changes to make to the bid documents before those go out. And we just talked about the ED renovation. We should be receiving, the assessment for the Wildflower Court life safety condition assessment. That's looking at the fire alarm system, the smoke compartments, how the facility is divided. We should be getting a report on that very soon. And the bid documents are ready for the Wildflower Court fuel tank installation. So that should be going out pretty soon. The cost estimate came in a little bit higher, but we still have funds within the deferred maintenance budget to cover that. And let's see, it's planned to be advertised for bid just before Thanksgiving. And then the Wildflower Court sidewalk replacement, that project is moving along. And let's see, that will probably be, that'll be ready to bid mid-November. So we're moving along with that project too. It's going to include some repair of the concrete stairs by the lower parking lot as well. Are there any questions?
Any questions?
Madam Chair, is there a cost for restarting the MRI? Is that included? Isn't there a cost with when we shut down the MRI and restarted? Is that?
To shut it down.
Yeah,
It costs us revenue.
well, I thought there was.
Yes.
You shut down an MRI that it's a reboot. I thought there's cost
We have to bring in
associated attached to,
Consultant or something
yeah,
to do it. We can do that in-house, is that?
I thought there was cost related. to
I'm
that.
not aware of costs related to restarting it, but I can follow up with Paul. I've actually been just texting Paul and he said nothing, Siemens hasn't confirmed that they could come out for those dates yet. So he's not aware of the dates to be confirmed.
Yeah, I thought we had to bring someone in when we, every time we shut it down and restarted it.
Well, if Siemens is gonna be here, that's probably why,
Okay,
because they're not doing the floor work.
right.
So it would be good to know what they're going to charge us for that shutdown and restart.
I want to say it's part of our warranty. But
Yeah, I
Paul-
can follow up on that as well.
Thank
Paul
you.
said the contractor's paying them since they.
Oh,
sounds like it was a contractor's issue.
Okay. Any other questions or comments about this report? All right, let's move on to 6C, options and priorities for the use of Aurora Behavioral Health Center.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have anything to share schematic wise. We have Mark Walker is working with the city to get some cost estimates on what it takes to change that, the space on the second and third floor to be of a clinical nature. So we have to look at what it costs to put sinks in the space, remove beds, remodel some of the wall coverings. So he's working with the city engineers on getting a cost estimate on what it takes to do that. With the initial tentative plan being moving physical therapy potentially up to the third floor. That will be determined once we get the cost estimates in. Not sure what the plumbing's gonna cost to get things in. It's gonna take to remodel piers. Oh, rather. I was getting corrected because I was too loud. I'll speak up. Sorry. So once we get the cost estimate, and we'll have a better idea what we can do with the square footage. If it costs too much to get plumbing in, if it goes up to, we'll have to bring back estimates, I guess, if it starts escalating too high. We'll have to bring it back to this committee to discuss. I'm hoping Mark has numbers by the December meeting. I'll keep pushing on that, trying to get that in place. But tentatively, that's our plans. We do have office, we are using the second floor for office space right now. We've co-located IT and PES into that space. Our IT space downstairs was found and inhabitable. We had mice issues, we had mold issues, so we had to move them to a new space in the short term. It's a long-term plan, moving them over into the medical arts building next door, so they can be co-located with the rest of the IT department. So that's as far as we've got on that space. Is there any questions?
Projecting out future, so looking at options still in terms of plumbing and physical therapy and IT there now, but are you thinking what might be on the 2-year horizon?
I mean, the 2-year horizon is we start looking farther into the, down the line. We have an OR update that we're gonna have to do, so we need to start planning about how we get our ORs up to date. As we look at that, does that include what we do with the JMC? So the Juneau Medical Center, do we need to move our clinics from that space over to the lower second floor, so we have all our clinics co-located in the same building? So long-term, it could be, behavioral health on the first floor, ESSC, oncology, orthopedics maybe on the second floor, with physical therapy on the third floor as we move into our OR remodel. Some of those things we need to scope out as we move down the line too, right?
Any other questions? I mean, we're still clearly in the planning stages, and we are taking advantage of the space on the second floor.
It's nice to hear something's being done with it.
Indeed. We don't have any new business. I guess I can roll into, do we have any comments or questions from the committee? I do have something from the committee or the board members. This is, I just wanted to let this group know that we are rolling into the end of our board year. We're going to have at least 2 new board members on starting January 1, or maybe December, because they come in December.
I think they're
appointed.
introduced in December, but it might be
That's right.
January.
Exactly. We have 2 open seats and 2 seats that are up for reappointments, mine and Al's. So I'll put you on the spot. You don't have to answer it if you don't want to, if you're still deciding whether or not you want to.
Well, I puzzled about it a little bit, but I talked to Joe. But I'm going to agree.
Good, as am I. That being said, one of the things that we've been talking about that will come up to the board is a conversation about with a couple of new folks and the changes that we've had is maybe re-looking at the committee structure. So just be thinking about it and know that I think that there might be a proposal for combining a couple of committees moving forward and looking at a little bit of a reassignment of responsibilities within the committees, and maybe looking at the membership of the committees to and this is, this comes to the board. It's not a unilateral decision that me or Kenny or Joe or anybody is going to propose, but we're just going to toss some things out there for discussion.
So I think it was the end of last year, before that, we started writing terms of reference. And then I think those just kind of got put on hold, but that might be a good place to start, is to have some written outlines of that
Committee responsibility.
Yeah, that we could take some scissors and some rubber cement or virtually do that and mix and match to have a discussion.
Yeah, we'll put that together, or somebody will put that together. I don't know if it's gonna be me or,
You mean some written
yes,
draft? So we already have some drafts on the
we
show.
do. If we can pull the drafts, that would be awesome. I think we're gonna have, I'm not positive, but we may have it start the conversation at the November board meeting so that we're prepared rolling into January. Because in December, we start talking, December, early January, once we have the full board, we start talking about committee assignments as well.
Since we're on the planning committee, we're sitting here at the planning committee too. One of the things that I was thinking about for planning, I remember the very first meeting that I sat in on, I applied for this. All of a sudden, just poof, names were nominated from the floor, and then they had to vote for officers. And I think we've kind of informally had a little bit of discussion, thinking ahead about officers, at least we did for this year. But it might be a good idea to formally think through who would be good to rotate in and you just do a little planning on officers. I think we probably have the president kind of figured out. Maybe, but I don't think I don't have a good idea of who else has been approached. So anyway, I just would hope we'd have a little bit of a plan because it's coming right up.
So I've been thinking about it under the assumption that there's a possibility that I will be the president
That would be possible, yeah.
next year. And have been talking to a few folks and actually was going to start the phone calls with the rest of you to, with my thoughts and to ask your thoughts as well. So it's not, it's on the table already. As is the committee structure. I've talked to a couple of folks about it. I don't want, the committee structure is really kind of, I wouldn't say up for grabs, but it's a recommendation with hopes that folks will provide input into the process, as well as what the government structure looks like.
But to Hal's point, I think maybe talking about it more openly rather than just one-on-one conversations. We're limited because of the Open Meetings Act about talking with multiple people. That's why we don't have an executive committee anymore. But I think, just kind of bouncing things around from, I don't mind being frank. It's my middle name.
We can have a conversation.
Is that the first time you've told that joke?
You're there again.
I don't mind talking about it if those in the room don't mind tossing it. I've talked to a couple of folks. I've asked Dr. Raster if he would consider being the vice president next year. But I haven't gone any farther than that. I've been thinking about what the secretary, haven't had a chance to talk to you if what your plans are for the next year. So that's really as far as we've gotten. And in any kind of conversation it's new, it's within the last week or two that we've started really thinking. I've started really thinking about it actually. And I've bounced it off of Kenny and Joe in our weekly meetings. And that's as far as I got. And after I had those couple of conversations, I talked to Dr. Astor just to plant a seed.
If I could put some cards on the table, I think that'd be very good. I'd be very happy to see as the vice president, because I think you have a strong voice that people perk up. You have a lot of credibility, and I think you have a lot of credibility outside the board too. So I'd be very in favor of that.
Anybody wants to toss names up for who are willing to either continue or serve as the secretary.
I'm willing to continue if needed, but if somebody would like to try to roll, I'm more than happy to pass it on.
So, Madam Chair, I would hope that we would have people, someone in that with the intent of moving that person on in leadership positions. Use that way.
Yeah, the secretary role, I think, is basically what you're reviewing the credentialing.
But that is a kind of step up from what the rest of the.
And it used to especially be when there was this quasi-executive committee,
Yes.
because then, because it seems like me being a board member for 18 months now, that there were other decisions that need to be made in sort of real time. And that there was these meetings, but then that changed because of city policy or city law.
Open meeting.
Yeah, and so now it's just the president, the vice president mostly, but certainly the secretary is,
And actually,
A little more
the president will bring in and meet with others as well. It's president and vice president, but it's also the president and the chair of the finance committee and the president and others who have a experience or an interest in the topic at hand. So it's not all, I would say it's not always the president and the vice president. I know that you've been asked to join Cammy in a meeting or two, so. And Matt, so.
Through the chair, I will say though, the secretary with the credentialing piece is a really important part
Exactly.
of board oversight. So, and it takes someone with a detailed critical eye who's willing to take the time to learn that, because I know you've done it for a long time, and it is a
It is.
learning curve, and it's a very important part of board oversight to make sure that that part is done correctly.
I was the secretary for a couple of years.
Yes.
And then because of that, I fill in for Kenny when he's unavailable, so. And it is a lot to know.
Yes.
I mean, you on the committee and the positions know all about it, but
Yes.
coming in cold, it's a very different job. I'm hoping that sometime soon we'll be able to get electronic signatures.
Getting closer. Getting closer.
Back to the electronic signatures that we had. We'll see. All right, any other, since I tossed out a couple of things? Well, holy cow. I think this is really the shortest planning committee meeting that I've chaired. We're at less than 30 minutes. And I will
Look for Jared.
move to it.
Madam Chair,
Ms.
I've,
Wren.
I've received an update, an answer to the question about the MRI shutdown and restart. So the contractor will be covering the cost to take it down and restart it, but the contractor will not be covering the lost revenue while it's down.
Okay,
Perfect.
got it.
Okay.
Thank you for
Welcome.
that update. All right, you guys, we'll see you.
I think it's coming on here.
And that's kind of, congratulate Joe on a couple of.